Hello, everybody. Welcome to another podcast with Take Five for Real Estate. Got a great guest today, Ken Brand with Compass Realty. Ken, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Owen. It's good to see you. Good to catch up with you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's good to catch up with you. So let's jump in. I've known you since I was a baby loan officer in the early 90s, and you were in the Woodlands. Can you kind of trace us through your career from in real estate?
Sure. I began probably before you were born, Owen.
Ah,
I grew up in San Diego, California. I was born and raised there, and I got into the real estate business in December of '78. So it's been almost 40 years, and got into the brokerage business. And then after 2 years, I moved to Austin. So I've been in Texas for over 30 years. And there I met my wife, Robin. You know Robin. We got married, had our kids there. She's from Austin, and continued my career there. So I've been in the real estate exclusively, the only thing I've ever done for the past 40 years or so. And then we moved to the Woodlands, where we've lived maybe for about 30 years now. And I've been in the real estate market in the Woodlands and in Houston since then.
right. And so that's where I met you in the Woodlands. We had territories back then.
Yeah.
So my territory was the Woodlands. And so although I don't live there, I drove up and back just about every day. And
Right.
of course, and it was certainly a community that everybody knows everybody knows everybody else's business. Is it still that way, as large as it's become?
It's that way a little bit, I would say, in the real estate business, because the number of agents still, why it's much larger now, right? There might be 1,000 or so agents working in the Woodlands areas on a regular basis. But community-wise, it's kind of spread out now a little bit. It's pretty big, 150,000 people and so on. So you have a sense of community that are kind of revolve around the different villages or activities that you might do with your children, or if you fitness activities and charitable events and things like that. So it's not quite as intimate, which is good in some cases, but still a very nice hometown feel where you see people that you know when you're out dining and shopping and things like that.
Yeah. And has the Woodlands stopped growing? Is it reached its maximum square footage, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is, I would say, as a contrast, maybe 10 years ago, there might be 2,000, 2,500 new home sales, right? Blowing and going, building out the new villages. Now there's various pockets. They probably still have maybe another couple of thousand, a few thousand homes that will be built over time. And they're in the higher price ranges because things, of course, have escalated, lot cost and so on, compared to in the past where they would have, starter range, mid-range, high range, and custom homes. So it's I would say probably 95% built out now. Yeah, in terms of residential.
Yeah. So, and you're with Compass now. So how long have you been with Compass, and what's your role there?
Yeah, I'm a sales manager with Compass. We've been in the Woodlands now for just a little over a year. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary with them. So Compass is a relatively new company in terms of some of the other brands that you've seen around. Woodlands Health and Houston, now going on the 3rd year. And in the 3 years, we've become the #1 broker in terms of dollar volume sold, listings sold, and things like that. We're a little bit different in that we don't, not that there's anything wrong with it, but our business plan is to work with experienced professionals with a track record. So we're not hiring new agents, and you have to have a certain production threshold and experience level in order to be invited to join Compass. So it's a little bit different than some of the other brokerages. And I really enjoy, as a sales manager, working with nothing but experienced professionals that have a great track record.
Right. Well, you certainly deserve to be in that spot rather than, herding cats. But you've herded cats in the past, I imagine.
Yeah, I still herd cats. Only the difference is these are big cats. Right? These are lions and tigers and cheetahs, and but it's still herding cats because they're extroverted salespeople. And they're all entrepreneurs, right? So they are very hard-charging personalities.
Right. So talk about that a little bit. What makes a good agent? What for someone that's thinking there's lots of people that come in and out of real estate for different reasons, and how come some stick and become successful and others don't? What's traits of a good agent?
Yeah, one of the things that I'll share with you is that I share with agents when I'm working them, right? So the two keys to success in the business probably begin with you have to know what other people don't, right? So if you want to be successful, you have to be a student of the game. You have to be all in. And the first thing that comes to mind, of course, you have to know contracts and so on. That's important. But you really have to understand inventory. You have to understand marketing, to help your sellers and doing what they're doing, staging, merchandising, presentation, communication, problem solving, all of those type of things. So you have to be a student of the game in order to understand those things so you can deliver at a high level for your buyer and seller clients, and
Right.
also your relationships with your co-brokers, right? So you have to be all in terms of being a student of the game, evergreen learner. And then what sets the real winners apart is doing what other people won't do. So in our business, like your business and other businesses, we know what works, and you just need to do it, right? So as an agent, the way you market yourself, the way you deliver your services, and so on is everybody knows how to do it, but you have to be willing to make the commitment.
Mhm.
Now, in the business, how you approach a business might fall into two categories. One's transactional, where I'm just doing the deals and it's all about that. And that's a great business model for some. Ours is relational, where we're going all in and trying, and the goal, we're striving to deliver the highest level of service. So if you're going to be successful, that means that you have to deliver, you have to keep your promises, make big promises, keep your promises. And it really becomes a lifestyle for the
Right.
successful agents because people are going to be contacting you and needing help and advice and guidance in the evenings, on the weekends. And your job is to help those people when they need it, how they need it at a high level. And that's what it takes, that kind of
Yeah.
commitment. Very similar to yours, Owen, right? And the success that you have, you're successful because you're all in and you make it happen. And it's the same thing in the real estate business.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and I agree with you. If I just say if my phone's charged, I'm working. I mean,
That's right.
you're always available, and you never know when that question is going to come. And now it might come through Facebook, it might come through text, it might come from a phone call, an email. You've got to just kind of be ready at
Yeah.
all times,
You're on high alert, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, and
right.
then the if you're able to handle those quick reactions and get back to people quickly, or catch the call as it comes in and have answers and solutions, then yeah, it's the mortgage world is similar to real estate in that
Yeah.
respect. Um, so with COVID and technology, two big huge things that have been on our radar lately. Where do you see real estate going? Locally, nationally,
Mhm.
in the future, after assuming we get to the end of the COVID time period, how
Yeah.
will our world be different than as it was before?
Than it is now. Yeah, that's a good question. We in the real estate business, probably the same experience everyone had initially when we locked down, which was about a year ago, because I started at Compass on the 24th of this month, as I was saying, 1 year
Yeah,
anniversary. And I started and then work from home started. So I've only been into the office in the last maybe 3 weeks, mostly working from home. So we all thought that the real estate market, like a lot of markets and businesses, would just be crushed. But after the initial lockdown and then real estate agents were deemed to be essential, what happened is as a result of COVID, people began to experience like, this isn't the place I want to be. And I was thinking I might move sometime and so on. So I want to make this move now. I need a place to homeschool my kids. I need more outdoor space. I don't need this commute anymore because my whole work situation's changed. So I can live in an area that I want to live and eliminate that commute. So what happened was that in combination with the low interest rates,
right.
right, affordability caused people to speed up their decisions that they might have made another year or two, right, because things were really exacerbated. And then so it's the market jumped. And then what happened is, or what happened as a result of that, because of distancing and so on, is we had to embrace as a real estate industry digital solutions for showing and for contracts and for closing and getting the paperwork back and forth and inspections and
Right.
things like that. So the tools were there. Compass had a lot of the tools already there, and in order to do that, and so what happened, it accelerated the adoption of the tools to use with clients, because
Right.
now that's what they've needed.
Right.
Now, as we're coming out of it, I think that the digital tools that speed things up and make things easier for everybody are used more frequently now because they're convenient and it works. We're just showing property differently. One of the different things, if you go to, maybe if you go shopping somewhere, you might have to stand outside for a minute, right? Why? Till it's your turn. So we see now when some of these hot listings come on the market, which about every listing, there could be where, several showings and there's people lined up, waiting their turn
Right.
because of the distancing. And so a change in behavior, a little bit more convenience because of the technological aspect of the business. I think speeding things up. Now we're having meetings like you and I are doing a podcast, but we're on a video call. And
Right.
before, maybe we had to meet in person and we get on the phone. Now we talk and we can see each other. Communication is better. That's kind of an impact.
Right.
And then I think what we're expecting now as we go into spring and summer, and the vaccines are rolling out, as you're saying, will we get back to normal? Is that there is a big subset of buyers and sellers who would like to move, right? They experience the same thing. That's not where I want to be. I still want to take advantage of these low rates, but they were fearful for their health, right? I don't want anyone coming into my home. I don't really want to get out there and look, but now I've been vaccinated and I'm thinking that I want something different, and I feel safer allowing people in to my home. Now we still do distancing, right? Mask when you're showing the home. So we still take all the precautions that somebody requires, but sellers have confidence that it's safer that they didn't have the whole previous year.
Right.
And so we're going to see those individuals, families, groups, or whatnot begin to enter the marketplace as we go into spring and summer, which will keep things just banging for the rest of the year, is what we think will happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. That whole challenge of having people walk through your house initially, that was, people were much more fearful, but I think you're right. I think people are loosening up with that idea, and it can be done safely. And you're right, we're starting to get vaccines, and so hopefully by the end of this year, that
A little more
fear
confidence.
that'll be gone.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I like to ask all my podcast guests is, do you have a memorable transaction or a story-worthy transaction that you'd like to share with our audience?
Sure. Let's see now, as a sales manager, I'm not actively listing and selling, but I get to hear the stories, right? Of what people are doing and crazy things. And so we had this one transaction, we represented the seller, and it was pretty contentious, as it was going through between the buyer and the seller and the price and terms. This was probably more than a year ago, but it sticks out of my mind. And so there were some repairs and things need to be done. And before closing, it's customary for the buyer to do their walkthrough before closing to make sure the repairs have been done and everything's shipshape and ready to roll. So the buyers did their walkthrough. House was in great condition. Seller fulfilled all their obligations, but the seller, this wasn't in the Woodlands, but the seller had some chickens in a chicken coop and they were still there. And so the buyer called and said, hey, we don't want chickens, get those out of our yard. So this was the day after closing. So the buyers did the walkthrough. Everything looked good except for the chickens. Seller said, don't worry, we'll take the chickens just before we close. Right. And the buyer didn't go over to check. Nobody checked because we took them at their word. But what happened is the seller didn't, right? It closed, it funded, seller took off and basically said, not my problem anymore. And so, of course, the buyers are furious, right? And then who wouldn't be? And so they get a hold of the listing agent, which was us, listing broker. Hey, your guy didn't do, your people didn't do what they said they were going to do. What should we do? So I get the phone call. I don't know. Do you want any chickens? No, I don't want any chickens. I don't know anything about it. Well, why don't you see, I hear that chickens are kind of popular to some people. Why don't you put it on Facebook for sale and then go into maybe, I forget the other website where you sell stuff. And just see what happens. Well, they went in, right? And this is all the same day, placed an ad, got a flurry of interest, no price, just come get these chickens and these coops, right? But several people responded. And then within 3 or 4 hours, someone ran over there with a pickup truck, grabbed the coops, was happy to have the chickens. Off they went, and ended happily ever after, right? But the chicken situation was blowing up and got solved. Yeah.
That's funny. Well, it's a good thing it wasn't like poisonous snakes or something like that.
Yeah, right. Or a tiger, or some crazy,
Yeah.
pigs, right? Or something like
Yeah,
that.
it might take more than a day. That's pretty funny. Well,
Yeah.
Ken, I really enjoyed catching up with you, and I enjoyed your insight and your energy and your knowledge. What's a good way for people to get a hold of you if they'd like to reach out to you?
Yes, my email would be ken@kenbrand.com. Really simple there. And then my phone number is 832-797-1779. Always happy to help.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Ken. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too, Owen, and I want to thank you. You do a great job for all of us getting those loans processed and so on. So thanks
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
All right.